Okay, and hello, my divine, infinite human beings, for all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And if you are listening to this live, I hope it's streaming through. We've had some problems with our Facebook lives, but this should be on our YouTube live for sure. So I'm just checking that out right now. Yeah. Okay. We're good with the, and you can make any comments if you'd like to here, and I will see them hopefully. And Facebook. Let's check out Facebook. Let's see here. Facebook. It's streaming to my page. Now. See live. Okay, Facebook. Yes. Okay, I see us on Facebook. I'm not sure if it's going to stay. People sometimes have trouble to seeing it, but okay. And if you want to put some comments on, if you're watching, Kiki, stay. All right. So here we go. Let's see here. Comments.
All right, 30 seconds and we'll get started.
Okay, and I'm here in the private chat, so yeah. Okay, we're all set.
All right, send in the feed, Emery. Have a great show.
Okay, thank you, man.
Welcome to the Infinite Human Talk Show with Elizabeth Monroy. Over the next hour, you'll learn how you can become part of the new consciousness renaissance by evolving yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, and socially to embrace your true divine infinite nature and become an infinite human and co-creator of the new infinite earth. Now, here is your host, Elizabeth Monroy.
Hello, my divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a very, very important broadcast. And thank you so much for joining me. I have our beloved David Emery here as a guest, and he's going to talk about his forthcoming book, Beyond Biblical. But before we get into that, I really want to send all our thoughts, our energies, and our consciousness towards what's happening right now as a result of the Hurricane Lynn. And, I always say I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy therapist because it's all real and I'm helping you. And right now, we can't even, I think most of you that are listening to my voice, and it's been a year, by the way, and ironically, we started last year on Christopher Columbus Day, and we began with the whole idea that, everything we've learned about history is false, and Christopher Columbus was basically a bastard, a liar, a murderer, a rapist, and a slave trader. And that was a good way to start. And we've been going a year now, and we're about 37,000 strong. I just, was given my numbers from Voice America. And that makes me feel so good because it's such a power in consciousness. And right now, I'd really like to turn all that power I have, because I've been touched so deeply. Many of you are familiar with Alma Soul, who has been on, or is a regular on our show. And we just did a 2-part series with her in September, all about how she has this beautiful New Earth community and this animal sanctuary, the Blue Heart Animal Sanctuary. And she was in the middle of this hurricane. And I've been sharing on Facebook all the faces of so many beautiful, beautiful people who are lost, who are missing. These are our grandparents. These are our children, our grandchildren. The river, children have been ripped from their mother's arms in this. There are people that are buried alive, still waiting for our help. And, so I really want to focus everyone, and this is a call to action, because they need help. They need our help. And I'll get into why it was created. But first of all, I want to say why they need our help. It's because, and I feel like anyone that has a microphone right now, anyone that's on social media, and everyone needs to be on it, is a true journalist, because true journalism is gone. It died a death, a slow death through the years. And really, there's nothing you see on the news that's real. It's all fiction. And they are telling you, the government, FEMA, everyone's telling you they have everything under control, and that's the furthest from the truth. They are actually they're blocking the way for people to come in and help, and they are arresting people that are trying to save these people's lives. They're trying to bring them food and water. The water has become toxic because a chemical plant was pulled into the river, and there's not food. There's people that we don't even know about them. They're a few people, there's no power there, and they're told they're not going to have power for about 3 months or so, which is ridiculous. They're about to hit in winter. And there's people that just come up. They like Alma Soul. Thank God she's alive. I know you guys have been really worried about her. She's fine. The animals are fine. I sent her a nice donation because I just felt called to Blue Heart Sanctuary's animal rescue mission. I sent it to her, and I saw her. She did a video of her buying food for her and her animals. Thank God. But she has to walk down the road to a cell phone station where she can get reception. And, but I've seen people, these are human beings that are crying on their cell phones, begging for help. I've seen pictures of people saying, have you seen my missing daughter, my missing son, my missing grandparents, my missing parents, my brothers, my sisters, my friends. And these are really powerful people. This hits me very deeply because a lot of these people are really powerful starseeds who have come here with very strong soul missions, and they have been creating, New Earth communities, independent communities up there. I met Brandy Bowen, who just had enough gas in her car to escape right after it happened. And she's been sharing a lot of these videos about the truth, because these are people that are speaking from their heart. They're speaking the truth, and they're pleading for help. And they're saying, please, whatever you do not send it to the Red Cross or FEMA or any of these government organizations. If you're so called, send it to churches, send it to individuals, send the money to people, because it's very much needed. Now, I'm going to just tell you what happened, and I'll let you kind of do your own research, and then we'll talk to David, because history repeats itself, and this is something that's gone on for a long time. And these are very sacred lands that were the Cherokees were the guardians for very many eons, and also of course back into the Atlantean times before the fall. But just recently, there also happened to be areas that are extremely rich in lithium. And if anyone knows what the agenda is, they're trying to get everyone into electrical cars right now. And lithium is, the new, gold, and it's very valuable. And so BlackRock and Vanguard they've tried to get the town to sell out of Asheville. And I saw a town hall meeting, a live video of last year, and everyone, refused to sell their homes to these greedy corporations. And the deal, I think they signed a deal. They've already, divided it up among them, the parasitic elite class that is still trying to hang on to their power, and especially in the U.S. or in the disunited state of America, as I call it. And, and what they're sitting on is about $250 billion worth of lithium. So what they did was create a hurricane. Okay. And yes, there is geoengineering. I don't have time to explain all the details, but it exists. And if you can imagine, I lived in South Carolina and I went through 2 different hurricanes there. And, hurricanes are I mean, they were engineered, but there are hurricanes. But this was a hurricane in the mountains, 400 miles from the coastline. And I just listened to a video of several other people who have said the dam was never supposed to break. And that's what surprised people, because they were sitting to dinner, eating dinner, and all of a sudden their home was swept away and they were them inside of it, or trying to jump off the balconies of their homes. This is just inexcusable. And the thing that is the worst part of it is that they're not allowing people to help. I saw an interview by a helicopter pilot he had a private helicopter and he was filling it up with his own dime to go out. He saved 11-month-year-old baby and a woman who was almost out of oxygen, who was on oxygen. And there's all these military helicopters just sitting around doing nothing. What's worse, I saw another man being interviewed that now they put all their helicopters on the takeoff jetway, so that these planes that were bringing in the food and the water supplies can't get to them. So it's a genocide because they want these people to die. I've been seeing that FEMA's offering $750, but it's to everyone. I mean, here are people desperate. They have nothing. They've lost everything. And they have to sign something that says that if they don't pay it back in a year, the government gets to take their homes. So it's a land grab, okay? And it's a land grab, and I'm saying it right now because I'm an empath and I'm very intuitive and very psychic, and I just hear people calling because they're alive, but they're not going to make it for much longer. This has been going on for over a week now, guys. They don't have food. They don't have water, not to mention all the displaced animals, dogs and cats and horses that are just trapped. There was a dog I saw rescued from a tree. Its water is everywhere. And there's some very heroic people who are taking a hand in this. So, and also Lisa Murray, there's a lot of Christic people up there doing some wonderful stuff. And this is something I just heard from Lisa Renee's group over there. She said something about one of the gals, because she lives in that area. And one of the gals, now some of them are getting out now and they're able to tell their story because they weren't able to even get out before. But they said that the infrastructure is gone. There's bodies by the thousands being pulled out of the river. There's no official count for them. The officials are not, telling you what's really happening and how high the death toll is. And there's nobody coming to claim the bodies because, they can't. The roads are all washed away. The only way you can get in is by helicopter, and the military is not giving their helicopters. I know there's one private, or you can get in by mule or hiking. Some medical and all-terrain vehicles. Some medical people are, coming through, thank God, but the water's very polluted and it's just, extremely toxic. The situation is dire. So if you want to donate, do not donate to the Red Cross or FEMA. Donate to churches. She has one spot fund supporting during hell and recovery. So if you can find personal people, that I know, of course, Alma Soul is hers is Blue Heart Sanctuary .org, and she has a PayPal which I donated on. So all this money, even if it's just a few dollars, is so much needed and appreciated. So and if anyone wants to speak forth, if they know some information, please contact me, Elizabeth Monroy. I'm on Facebook. My website's www.infinitehuman.com. And I'd be very glad to dedicate a whole show to this because we need to get this truth out here. We can't we are the conscious, moral backbone of the world right now. We who are awakening, we who are the Christic beings, and it's up to us to speak about this and let our voice be the voice of others who can't speak right now. So it's a very emotional topic, but the truth is the best thing you can do besides the immediate thing of helping them is to awaken yourself up and to raise your frequency, because the more you embody these higher frequencies, the more powerful you will be. And it's no coincidence that they use this time, because we are in such a powerful time right now. We've just had like a level 9, I think, solar ejection from the sun. So all these people who are wanting, a solar flash, well, it's happening. And for me, I know my body, I was in bed for the past 3 days because it was so intense, and it was difficult, but I feel so much higher in frequency, so much more healed, and so much more of my genetic material is coming online. So and when you do that, you pack power. And as we do that as a collective, we will all pack power. And these are frequency weapons that will not be able to be used against us as we come together, especially in what in ancient times we called Melchizedek cloisters, where we held the frequencies of the planet. And so I think that's what's happening. That's one of the reasons it hit me so hard with this particular area of the planet, because I know there's some really good people. I did a soul mission reading on Brady, who was a nurse. And when this pandemic came, she began to awaken to what was really happening. And when I went to Sarasota, I met her, and she came up and she said, "Oh my God, your book changed my life." And I did a soul mission reading, and she was like supposed to start a New Earth community. And I know she was up there really doing it. And so is Alma Soul, and many other people are doing it. And now this has been a bit of a setback, but we are not victims, and we are rewriting our lives now into the heroic version. And we are the winners this time. And we have the whole universe, and you are a universe behind us now. So it's time to rewrite ourselves out of this, because I was on a talk show with a sister here on Voice America who does Behind the Veil. And I was explaining, the whole history, which we'll get into now with David in just a minute. But she asked me, she said, "But why is the dark side more powerful?" And I said, "Darling, they're not. They are not." And we've just played our huge trump card by kicking in the fail-safe mechanism and the Crystal River host. So we are winning, but they're doing whatever they can. They're playing very dirty right now. They don't care. They're not even trying to cover their tracks now. And so that's fine, because we are we are rising. In fact, Alma So used to always say to me, grand rising, grand rising. I think that's what people are saying there. So I keep saying grand rising, because we are still rising. They're not gonna kick the stuff out of us. We've got it. We've got this one. And as we rewrite our life story, we write the whole story for the planet as victors, no longer victims. And I'm going to bring David on now, who can kind of, share his very wise and well-researched and very intuitive insights. I always respect his opinions. So I'm so blessed. We're so blessed to have him here. So Dave Emery, tell us a little bit about yourself for people who haven't. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. And then just take it away, Dave.
Well, there's not a lot to say about me. I'm an angelic human, just as you are, Elizabeth, and as everybody out there who is listening. And I would like to say that your impassioned speech there about the situations that are going down, and that the results of things that have happened for eons of time was very, very relevant, very poignant, very powerful. And I want to thank you for what you have just said so eloquently, because it needed to be said. In fact, really, the most important thing that we can all do now is two things. One is we can say no to the things that we realize are not what we require, and we can join together as one in our own frequency to reshape, reclaim everything that we have always been, And this would mean that we have to stand up and shout out exactly how we feel about what is going on. This has been one of the weaknesses that we have had, is that we have not said what we should have said. We have not stood up and explained how we feel and how things should be. And I want to say thank you to you, Elizabeth, for your wonderful impassioned speech, because that was needed. That is the sort of that's the sort of armor that we require to face into what these very demented beings are doing. And let me be quite clear. These beings that are doing this, they are not essentially human anymore. They are demented, they are beyond recovery, and they have chosen their own direction of travel. And it is far and far away from where we are going. And we are going together as a collective, as you've just so brilliantly explained. And so now we must say no to what's been going down, and we must get together. And so your speech has been a rallying cry, Elizabeth, and I want to thank you for it.
Well, thank you. And I'm trying to build a community here, especially with all the speakers that are coming on. And I think the people that have been on the show, like you and Amma and many others, Eon, and, God knows we've had some great people on here, Olivia, through. I don't have time to name them all, but I think we're demonstrating, first of all, compassion, and we're kind of forming, a new way of, we're colleagues, we're comrades at arms, and you're always so such a beautiful role model of how to be. You're always so appreciative of people, and you always honor what they say, and you've certainly been a role model for me, and we certainly need that in these times right now, because I think we talk about the end days, but since your book is, history, my gosh, and of course it began, billions and billions of years, 960 billion years in a whole nother Akasha time matrix, the Borgs and the whole victimizer thing began. And I just been watching the Lord of the Rings lately. I always talk in movies, guys. You got to excuse me because I love movies, but I kind of think of these beings as like the orcs, they're just death, warmed over. They're Frankenstein-y type of beings that have been so assimilated into the Borg of this collective death cult that cares nothing for human life, that they've lost it. They're no longer, as you said, human. So we just have to just kind of have empathy, but realize we're not going to put up with it anymore. And I think if you look at our past, billions and billions of years with this victimizer programming, I think if there's anything to be learned, just one, if you could put it into one like bumper sticker statement, is the fact that we're all one. And, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to do it to someone else. It doesn't feel good to get it. And many of these people who have been victims, and we've all been victims in our lives, I don't think we've died in vain. We've been there to try to create empathy and to show people we're all one, and to show people that this is not the right way to be, to take advantage of other people, to reap rewards off of people's pain and suffering, to take, more with greed than the rest of the people. It just does, for anyone that's still human, I just think it just doesn't feel good. And we have that compassion. And unfortunately, I think with the last rounds of, and I'm going to get myself into trouble here because I am trying to stream this on YouTube, but and I've had so many strikes, but the last scandemic, got juice that went around. There's a lot of people who lost their compassion and their humanity and their heart, and they're just kind of like the orcs or whatever, carrying out orders. And so we have to realize that it's our time to stand up and speak out. I wanted to ask you about, because I know I really feel like, as I mentioned before, that America is almost like the final battleground of this whole thing. And it's all kind of coming to a head. And I know there was a lot of stuff that happened just in the 1900s. Well, it was really actually the last century. So I don't know if you want to, wherever you want to take this, if you want to ground it in the whole like time, what happened, in the other time matrix and bring it into now, or if you want to start with the most recent history. But I think I would really appreciate if you could shed some light on this whole historical time loop that we've been in of repeating the same story over and over again. So,
Well, okay, Elizabeth, I understand what you're saying, and there's so much confusion and so much alleged terror out there that's going on. The timelines being mixed up, the futures being mixed together. So there is a lot of confusion. But really, what we're looking at now is over many, many billions of years, collectives grew up, collectives of different beings with different ideas about how life should be. And when they invested Earth many years ago, they were operating from behind the frequency veils of the fourth and the fifth dimension and not really setting foot on Earth. So the way that they could actually manifest their physical control over the structure of Earth was to invest their energies inside human hybrids. Now, we've all been affected in some way, but the hybrid elites, most of them, over many, many thousands of years, have in fact been so affected by the lower frequency intentions and inclinations of these beings from behind the veils that they've been psychically controlled. And over a long period of time, and I'm cutting things very short here, over a long period of time, many hybrid elites on Earth throughout history have slowly lost their ability to connect as one with everyone else, with the whole of the life field. So they lost this wonderful ability to have unity consciousness. It became a consciousness which was not at all to be unified, and it was not and was in the absence of love. So there's no love, therefore there was no joy, and there was certainly no unity. And so if I can bring it right up to today.
yeah, and I just, because we both are very philosophical, sometimes we can get a little lofty, but we're talking, this is like the elites, this is what the Illuminati, the cabal people are saying. These are these corporations, these are these governmental agencies and institutions, and the people you see, I hate to say names, but we're talking about the Bill Gates, and we're talking about, all these, I don't even get into all the political stuff, but we're talking about people throughout the ages who have always been on the antichrist side. So please bring it up to date now.
Well, that's the whole thing about those elites, and they are now running the show as far as they can, although they've lost masses of control now. So what you see here with North Carolina and the weather weapons, and there's another weather weapon allegedly going into Florida as well,
Yes.
as there have been in the past. We've had there was 1992 Hurricane Andrew, the most powerful storm ever. That was a geoengineered opportunity for control of the frequency grids of Earth. And so the North Carolina one, as you so astutely pointed out, is 400 miles inland. It's not in the normal avenue of seaways where a hurricane can develop. So this has been engineered and targeted at specific areas. And these are demented human hybrids of the remnants of an elite which has controlled Earth for many thousands of years, and they are just lashing out because the only thing they can do now is to try to eliminate the angelic human population, any population, the whole of the life field. It's all up for grabs. They do not care. And so now you're seeing it boldly and in your face exactly how they view humanity and how they actually view Earth. It is simply a commodity. It's a resource, and so are we. All of the life field is a resource, a commodity, a property. And this is who we are dealing with. We're not dealing with human beings anymore. We're dealing with demented entities of very low frequency who have only one thing that they can do, and that is ultimately to destroy. And the real thing that we need to do now is to recognize this. We don't have to make judgments about it. We just have to say, this is how it is. This is how they are. And we stand for what we believe in, which is love, in joy, in unity, togetherness. And because that's who we are, and that is what we stand for. And this has been one of the issues over many thousands of years, where a lot of angelics and a lot of the life field have forgotten that they stand for all of these things, that they represent all of these things, love and joy and unity consciousness. And so we have been allowed to be manipulated and into compliancy over so many things. We have allowed other people to do our job for us. And now the one thing you can say about this North Carolina disaster is that people are now standing together because they now see, their now vision of what is going down is now clarified. And this will ultimately pull us all together.
Yes, and that is a positive note, because I'm an eternal optimist, like my father before me. I always try to see the good, and I already said what's going on, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But the good news is that every time they do this, we see the strings, on the puppet show. We see what they're doing, and they're not hiding it anymore. And the more they come out of the darkness and they're hiding, the more people are, and the more frequencies we have pouring in through the sun, through the Nomi seed in the earth, through the activations, through the solar flares. I mean, the more consciousness, the more the veil is being lifted, and we're all seeing. And as we see, we're all waking up and we're standing up, like David, said, if we all stand up, get off our knees, and we're just not having any more of it. We're not going to take it. We're mad as hell. We're not going to take it anymore. And, we just have to say that. And I do. Sometimes I flip out, I really do. And I just stand there and say, I've had to scream in the middle of an airport and say, no, Kiki, my dog, cannot fit in that bag. It will kill her, because these people no longer have minds. They don't understand that what it takes to live and breathe, what living, breathing humans. And we have to stand up for these people who need our voice, at this time. So, I get real passionate about that. But the good news is we are coming together and we are awakening. And there are so many, I also flip out sometimes, but I just start crying sometimes. I get very emotional lately when I see these people that are helping. There are so many good people. So don't let you do the number of humans are bad. No, humans are not bad. Humans are, as you said, divine angelic beings. It's just that we've had a lot of bad eggs that have infected us and mind controlled us. But when you get down to push to shove, I mean, I've seen people just, show up and endlessly, tirelessly search for bodies and pull cats and dogs out of the trees and save people that are that are on their last breath. So
Well, I endorse and applaud everything about your passion, Elizabeth Monroy. I love your passion because your passion is born of love. Often passion is born of control, a desire for control. And so passion is totally different. But your passion, my dear, is born of love. And that is the passion that we need now. We need the passion to stand up and say no more. It's the passion of love for who we are. It's a passion of love for our planet. It's the passion of love for all of us together as one.
Yes, it is. And I feel it. I can feel it in my bones. People are really, that's igniting inside people now. And the good news is, we just can't muffle ourselves, in front of the boob tube, and, shovel comfort food in our mouths and insulate ourselves from it anymore. And that's a good thing. It is a good thing. I mean, because we all need to step out onto our own individual heroic journey. So that's kind of my thing right now. You know what? Let me take a short little break here, just a few minutes, and we'll be right back with David Emery, and we'll talk more about changing our history to becoming the victors of our own heroic journey.
For more empowering words from Elizabeth Monroy and Dr. Peter Monroy, check out their latest book, The Infinite Human, an ascension guide for starseeds, twin souls, and awakening infinite humans, the co-creators of the new infinite 5D Earth. You'll also find many spiritual books to help both children and adults in their ascension back to home, to infinite God Source. Isn't it time to be part of the new consciousness renaissance? If this resonates with you, please subscribe to our website at infinitehuman.com and become part of our growing Infinite Human family.
Welcome back to the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. Do you have a question or comment for Elizabeth or her guests? Please text or email your questions and comments to infinitehumanproductions@gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back. We're having a very heart-to-heart conversation with David Emery. And, we've been talking about, what's going on with the I call it the hurricane from hell, or the hurricane from Helene, it's called. And we've talked about that a great deal. So, we've urged people to, just look inside yourself and ask what you can do to help out your fellow human beings who are in tragedy right now. Kiki, I'm going to kill you. Kiki's being bad. But let's shift this now back to us, because actually, it always comes back to you. You draw to yourself things you need to experience. And I'm spotlighting this because I've certainly experienced it, and it certainly has caused me, and I think everyone that's involved, to dip down and find the hero within. And when we talk about the heroic self, we had Akwashi on for the last 2 weeks, a beautiful acoustic musician, just amazing. And we talked a lot about our heroic self. And he said whenever he's in a moment, he always says his mantra, and I've been using it: I am my heroic self. I am my heroic self. So, which means you're making the choices that activate your optimal reality. Okay. So it activates the highest essence of yourself, your acoustic self. So you're downloading, you're restoring your divine blueprint, and you're choosing the highest flash sequence or the highest timelines. And I always say you're being of service with your unique gifts and talents. You're the greatest service to earth and humanity at this time. So, there is no time. We know that, and this has all happened and is all happening all at once, but there is the now moment. And as we position ourselves in this now moment, we have many different choices of how we can react, respond, and the choices we make that can create the most optimal reality for ourselves as individuals, and creating a world we want to live in. So do you want to speak to that, David?
Well, I mean, the people you've had on are such wonderful angelics, and they speak of so many things that are true and real, things that are real, because of course we live in the world of delusion and illusion down here. So it's very difficult sometimes to disassociate yourself from what is happening, that it all seems so real, and what we create sometimes is not exactly what we want, and we often get frustrated here. But you mentioned there about the heroic pathway that we all have, and the heroic pathway is exactly to do with what you've just said. You mentioned the word blueprint, and you're so right. It's an encryption which we have. Our stream of consciousness, when we begin here in our journey in the lower domains here, where we are in our universal realms, when we come down here, we have a stream of consciousness. We have an encryption of perfection, which is who we truly are. That is our true, real self. And as we navigate our way through the journeys and the experiences and the illusions that we pass through, it's very easy to forget our heroic self, as your commentator said earlier. It's so wonderful that we still have a connection to our encryption, and we truly do. It's within us. It's within our Azure, which is here, and it's a sort of like the spark of the living flame. That is who we are, and we have a unique encryption for us. And our heroic pathway is to return to that. So all that we are doing now, and all that we are trying to do, is to re-navigate our way along that pathway to re-find ourselves. We never lost ourselves, but we forgot where we were, and we forgot who we were. And so consequently, what we're in the process of doing is refinding ourselves. And of course, what we're doing now is, as we get together in our unity and in our love and in our joy of what we try to do together as one, that's how we refind ourselves. And so, yes, we're on our heroic pathway back into who we have never not been, if you can see what I mean.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I was thinking today, actually, I'm creating a workbook, to help people to do this right now. And I was thinking of the words I heard you say about how when we entered this time matrix, we actually kind of you love films too, like I do. So you say we bought a ticket to the story, the film, the show. And we suspended our disbelief that there is, as we began to believe in time, we began to invest our consciousness more and more into our finite identities, our lifetimes, our alternative identities. I am Elizabeth, you are David, this is a house, that's a ocean, that's a mountain, because we wanted to experience it, because we are, after all, the infinite experiencing itself. So that's what we did, and that's a beautiful thing. But we kind of got stuck in there, and the veil was put over us so that we didn't remember that we were in a show. We didn't remember the fact we bought a ticket, and we didn't remember that there was an exit, And so now we're remembering it, and we're finding our way out. And many of us have come here contracted with contracts to be the way, to show the way, to be the light, and to help people find, their way back to the truth that we're infinite, that we're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And, that we can be in it and not of it. And we're role models of that. So that's really what this talk show is for. I'm really, I'm very thrilled that we've reached, almost 40,000 people, and that's wonderful. And I know there's millions of us out there who I believe are the founder races that have come here to lay the foundation. And everyone has a very powerful contract, and that's part of their soul mission right now. So I hope my voice is a wake-up call to you, that re-sparks something inside of you, that reminds you of who you are, how powerful you are, and that what you're doing, these niggles that you get, these visions, these passions, these talents that you have, these stories that you're writing, these books you're writing, these songs you're singing, you're writing, because a lot of people are reaching out to me that are writing like you, writers, or they're singers and they've written songs, or just, they want to start communities in different parts of the planet. These are so powerful. They're not just daydreams or whims. They're contracts that you agreed to before you incarnated. I wouldn't say not just in this body, but even probably before you came in this time matrix, because many of us came in here on a rescue mission because it had been going so far down. So I want to add with that to that.
Well, you and I, we're on the same pathway, Elizabeth. We hold hands spiritually in this, so there's nothing you can say that I wouldn't agree with. I think it's perfectly right. I enjoyed what you said there about the theatre show. We bought the ticket, but we're not in it. We're in it, but we're not of it. What a great phrase that was. I really love
and that's where the power comes, because when we awaken from the dream, as David Icke calls it, for example, as we awaken, then it's like waking up and having a lucid dream. You're like, oh, this is a dream. I can do stuff, and you claim your power. And that's what the true awakening is. And right now, I wrote in my newsletter, I believe we're going through a quickening. There's a quickening that's happening because the energies are coming. And I know a lot of people are talking about solar, they want solar flash. Well, no, I couldn't. If I had a solar flash right now, I'd probably spontaneously decombust, because it's so powerful, and we're absorbing these energies, and that's the last thing we want. But they're giving it to us to the maximum, and to the degree that we can take it, because our bodies are shifting from carbon to diamond, like with the pressure on a carbon to diamond. So we're becoming the crystalline, the crystallic, the Christ beings and entities in the Cathara grid that we truly are. So it's an amazing time, and the awakening is, I'm giving hope now, because a lot of people, when you see this stuff happening, you think, oh, we're not so powerful. They're more powerful than we are. No, dear ones, we are so powerful, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You're making me smile because, what you were saying there about the solar flashes, etc., from the sun. Well, let me just tell you, folks, Elizabeth Monroy is a sun. She is a star, and I don't mean this in the celebrity stakes, of Kim Kardashian and all of that. She's way beyond that. In fact, we're all stars. All of you listening here, you are suns, and you're glowing so brightly, and you're so huge. You're so ineffably amazing. And that is this is the takeaway, really, as Elizabeth has just pointed out. She has just suggested that we are all sons, and that is exactly who we are. So we have an ineffable creation, and we have an ineffable contract, as she said also. That is so true. Some of us have come from a long way before in time, and we have come here together. We're together as one to help with the reclamation. And the reclamation of what? It's the reclamation of who we are. It's of our identity. All of this story, the stories you write every day, the stories that you live through, the stories that you create, and myself and Elizabeth and Kiki, we're all creating stories. And the story that we are creating is the reclamation of souls, the reclamation of who we are, the fundamental realization of our identity once again, as we move on our pathway, our heroic pathway back into the true light of honestly who we are together as one. So this has been an absolutely majestic journey. It's had some moments, and I know that they've been difficult, but we are actually on a majestic journey. And now that we've got together, we can all be spiritually hand in hand, and it's going to be a wonderful awakening.
Yes. And, just to put, again, a positive twist on this, because I mean, like you said, we are stars. You are a star. And I just think if you're listening, you don't realize how powerful you are, because that's the whole trick. That is the illusion. That is how they got you. That's what they made you believe through the mind control, through all the bills that pours out on the news, and through the programming that's gone through generation to generation, creating ancestral miasma. This has all been to make you believe you're less than, you're not enough, you're weaker than, you're the evil, bad, all those programmings that we now need to each individually shed. Okay, that's that shadow work, that's the purging of the darkness that is coming out now, because all these high frequencies are displacing the lower frequencies. And as you truly do that, you are become the embodiment of that solar nuclear energy. And we are one. We all came here as one, and we are creating shields, shields that we come together in consciousness, that we can project our consciousness to areas that are in need on this planet, like where the hurricanes are happening now, the one that's coming to Florida, and the devastation in all these crisis places, the Middle East, the Carolinas, as we rise, the grand rising, as we rise in our power, in our frequency, in the knowing of who we are, and as we come together with this unified consciousness, we are unstoppable. And it's all energy. We're all energy. So, their energies, their little tinker toys, their little technological toys will have absolutely no hold on this planet anymore. And I hope these words, just give you hope when you're looking on the news, and and don't buy into their bullshit.
Yeah, well, you're so right about everything that you've said there, Elizabeth. Let me give, if I may just detour slightly, let me give you a story, because Elizabeth there was talking about how we have been encouraged to be compliant, do this, do that. This is for the best of the world. Like, for example, you've got to take your vaccine. Because it will save the world. We want you to be compliant because that's the best way to be. And all these sorts of things, these rules and regulations which are created for us. Did you know that there are really only a few laws that you need to live by? One of them is harm and loss. Don't do any harm and don't cause any loss. But we have got hundreds of thousands of laws to micromanage us. And that is to make us compliant so that we just agree with everything. We just follow the rest of the herd. And I'll give you an example of this. And you choose how you think this should go. This should have gone down. Recently in the Paralympics, a lady was running. She was blind, but she was allowed to run with a guide, and she had a tether line attached to her wrist and to his wrist. And he was running to make sure that she ran in the right direction. He didn't help her to run. He was just making sure she didn't bump into anything or cause any accidents at all to herself. And as she was running in third place for the bronze medal, she was in third place, clearly going to win the bronze medal. She was miles ahead of the fourth person. With 15 meters to go, her partner pulled up with a massive cramp attack and fell on the floor.
Oh, God.
And so she couldn't run any further. So she took her tether line off, knelt down, found where he was, knelt down and administered to him and said, oh, it's okay, I'll help you. And so it'll be all right. And she called the paramedics, etc., to help her. And what happened? She eventually got up and they both staggered over the line and she won the bronze medal. Except she didn't win the bronze medal. And the reason, the authorities came over and said, no, you took your tether line off, you broke our rules, you are not any longer in the race, and you have been disqualified. Now, this, of course, is a complete nonsense for all angelic humans. If you're an angelic human, you realize that what she did was perfectly angelic to help her friend. And crossing the line, it doesn't matter about the bronze. But guess what? The rules and regulations were everything. And so consequently, an angelic human was penalized for being an angelic human in behavior. Do you see how this has gone down time out of mind? For thousands of years, we have been made compliant to follow rules and regulations that don't actually make any sense in the real angelic world. And this is what we're talking about. And this is why we all need now to stand up and say who we are, what we stand for. And the answer is no, if it's something that is not angelic and loving and joyous and connected in unity consciousness together as one. And this is a small, tiny little example of how easy it is to start nodding your head and say, oh, I'll do that. Yes, because everybody else is doing it. And it's a rule and regulation. We must be strong and bold and brave in knowing what we stand for. And that was a simple little example of what has gone down over thousands of years.
Well, thank you. And well said. That was a beautiful example. And I'm, like chewing, not we call it gnawing at the bit right here, because this I cannot keep my mouth shut. There's just something that rises up inside of me. And I wrote about it in the book. And especially now, I just had the gals that cleaned my house. Thank God they helped me do that. I can't do that. And she was telling me about a lifeguard here in Sicily. He got fined 1,400 euro, which is a huge amount of money for these people here who live on $800 a month, 800 euros a month, because he saved the life of a person. He was not supposed to save that person who was drowning in the ocean. He was supposed to go make a call, and if he had followed the rules, the person would have drowned. So we are entering a time now, and I'm just really good at it, where we have to speak up with a very, very authoritative, loud voice and hold these people accountable for their inhumane, small-minded practices. And as our numbers grow, we just will flood over these, it's like a little sign that says "Do not enter." Boom, this whole ocean of people flood through, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're awakening, the grand rising. That's why we're coming together. And yeah, you might call it anarchy, but we can't. They're out to kill us. The governments, the officials, the rules, everything. We cannot no longer follow the rules. We have to follow our moral compass inside of our heart, because we are a heartfelt, angelic, beings. And if I had followed the rules, oh my God, I probably, Kiki wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be alive. There's things that people do, that, like flight attendants I'm getting ready to fly, so I'm thinking about this. I heard they took a little dog and put it in, closed it up in the case, and the little dog died, Oh, you must store, they become automatrons, and I saw it happening in America, especially, which is one of the reasons I don't live there, because there's just too many robotic people that have been consumed by all the Metatronic reversals, and they no longer, connect to that divine spark within. So, okay. we're running out of time, but in the next segment, we're going to talk about your book. Okay, so you're going to stay on, and we'll air this at a later date. But we'll talk about the book because it's such an exciting book, and it really is empowering, and that's what we need right now. We need to break the chain of illusion, break the chain of obedience, break the chain of not knowing who we truly are, our true history. So thank you, David, for joining us. Can you want to tell us a little bit about how we can connect with you, how we can support you in your work?
Well, I'm on Facebook and I'm also on Substack now. So I write on Substack. I'll have to let you have the link for that at some stage, Elizabeth, if I may, because I'm not wholly organized myself in these things. But I will.
Me either. But let's just say, yeah, great articles that he's been writing. I just love him, And so it's just look for David Emery on Substack,
Okay.
right?
Right. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Substack's pretty good about getting out there. So if you put David Emery, it'll have you on there. It'll have your Facebook. Now you have a GoFund to support you in your.
That's true.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What is that called?
It's a GoFundMe page just to give assistance to making sure that the book is published. That's what that's really about.
So I think if you Google Dave Emery, everything is going to be there, so you can support him and definitely subscribe to his newsletter. Do you know when the book's going to be out yet?
Well, it's hopefully it's going to be this year. That's what is aimed for.
Okay, good. So it's not a well, that's actually this year. It's pretty soon. we're coming up on the end now. So, okay. So, is there? Okay, we're just running out of time here. Anything else that I'm forgetting? I just want to thank everyone so much for all their support. I'm coming up to my second year now, and we appreciate any support you can give to us. I've pretty much paid for this myself, and I have been so passionate about it, but I want to keep doing it. So now I realize I have to I can't just give. I have to actually start at least making it, sustainable. So, if you can support in any way, like buying the book is the best way to start support. And I have 8 titles out now. Peter and I we have them, and they're on Amazon, and they're also on my website, www.infinitehuman.com. And I've also started a Patreon channel. So what I want to do is support you in your heroic ascension journey in the least expensive way. Instead of offering, very expensive online courses, you can participate in this for just $5, $10 or a couple dollars a month, and I can share with you more of my time to help work with you instead of private coaching sessions. So that's what's going on here, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. All right, ciao for now. Thank you, David.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.
All right, we're clear. Great job today.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
See you
Thank you.
next
Have a
week.
good day. Yep.
Okay,
Bye.
you too.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to take just a real short break and put the lights on, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk about a little bit more of your book in the history. Okay?
Right. Whatever you want to talk about.
2 minutes. Okay. I'm going to try this without a microphone because that's bothering my ears. Okay, so ready for the next
Yeah.
hour?
Okay, no, that's fine. And I think that what you did today, that last hour was brilliant, my dear. You are just awesome. You're a force of nature.
I felt so strongly about it. It's in my dreams. It's on my mind all the time. So when that happens, okay. So yeah, because I live in peace, but when my fellow brothers and sisters are bad. So, okay. This time we're going to focus lighter and more on, your book and the history and what that has to do with people, Okay. So I'll take it. You follow. Like you always. Okay. So. Hello, my divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And we're with one of the most esteemed guests that I have in my wonderful, I want to say collection, but my gathering of infinite human speakers here. And one of my favorites, David Emery, is here today. And we're going to talk a little bit about his forthcoming book. I just call it Beyond Biblical, but it seems like there's a longer new title. So, David, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then the book, how it came about, and what's the name of it now?
Oh, well, yeah. I originally had the idea of it as Beyond the Biblical, because look, the fact is that I've come to join you a bit latterly, really. For many years, I just sat and studied and read and did my own writing, and I was talking to myself, really. That's all I was doing. And then people started to ask me more and more questions, and I was asked to talk more about different things and to write other things. And so then I found myself writing a book, and I thought, what's the best way to write about the true history of not just the Earth, but also our universe and the whole of the cosmos? I thought, why not I just talk about everything? So I realized that a lot of our history is based on the Bible. And I thought, well, actually, it's not just biblical, our history, it's beyond that. So I started to write about beyond the biblical. But then after I'd been talking for a couple of years with different people, as Elizabeth knows more than almost anyone, there was a fail-safe mechanism which was introduced to rescue the whole of our universe, basically, to cut a long story short. And that involved actually bypassing what we call the stairway to heaven. The stairway to heaven is the one track at a time ascension process that each one of us was originally meant to make, one universe at a time, and slowly ascend our way back up the stairway to heaven, back to heaven. But of course, because of all the distortions that have happened, and that's what my book is really about, the cosmic history. Because of all those distortions, that stairway, that one track at a time stairway, got pretty much eliminated. So we had to do an evac. It's sort of like an evacuation process. And somebody was asking me in a talk, well, what sort of an evacuation is this then? I mean, I said, well, it's sort of like a slingshot. It's a slingshot evacuation to bypass a lot of the stairway and rejoin the original pathway back, our original heroic pathway, back into who we truly are, which is back in God's source. And so the slingshot phrase stuck. And the people who are helping me, thank goodness they're helping me because I'm not very good at business. They're helping me to publish the book. They said, why don't you add that as the part of the title? So they called it The Slingshot Evacuation, Beyond the Biblical and the Universe of You. So that's how the title got changed, Elizabeth.
Okay, well, I want to get into that in great detail, but before we do, let's just okay. What have you been up to? You've been all around. You mentioned a little bit before when we first got together, but I guess you okay, you just kind of like, and me too. You kind of like came out just recently of the spiritual closet because I think you answered a call and a contract to definitely be a light of beacon of information and a role model in this times of great change. So thank you for responding to that call. And now you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. I think did you tour when you were back in England before you came to the States? Because you're coming to me from the States. David's in the States now. But did you tour with Sasha Stone a little bit around with his tour?
No, really, I didn't.
Okay.
Sasha asked me 3 years ago to appear on one of his programs, and that was a very nerve-wracking experience because I'd not done anything like that for 30 years. I had been a teacher and a speaker long ago,
Okay.
but as I've explained, I really shut myself off, and I was just doing my own thing. And as a result of being invited by Sasha to come and talk about the true history of the cosmos.
He's done some beautiful work with that. Some wonderful videos, definitely worth checking out.
So I that's how really I ended up being asked to come to America. I was quite happy sitting at home just writing away, and then I was summoned to America about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and I'm very grateful because it's expanded my horizons considerably.
Keep your hands still.
Okay.
And sit closer because we don't want to get back noise.
Okay.
Okay, and then
So-
you've hooked up with Jane Evershed too, and you're doing a lot of really good grounded explanations of Kelonic science and what we've been talking about now, the Crystal River Failsafe program, and explaining these high-minded concepts, advanced metaphysics. So you have a lot of those out that are on, I think she's kind of on her YouTube channel. Those are around, right?
Yeah, well, I was on a program with Jane about a year ago, and I was very impressed with what she spoke about art and how the hybrid elites have used art as a mechanism to distort our own imaging and how we think of things and what our view of beauty is and of joy, etc. And I was very impressed with her very intense journalistic approach to studying the art. And so I wrote to her and said I thought I enjoyed being with her, and thank you very much. And so we established a fraternity like that, and she got involved with Kilonta through me, and of course we blended our work together, and that's how that actually happened. But in fact, I would have to say that Elizabeth, you and many other people out there like Ian Parks and there's so many I could mention, Paul Sarfarazi, and you have been pioneers in expressing the importance of the Kilonta and of all those different ideas about our true angelic heritage. So really, I've been flying on the coattails of all of you, really, and I've learned a great deal. And your book, The Infinite Human, was a pivotal, important book for me to read, because it made me realize that there are other people out there who have been through the same sort of memories that I have had, and yours have been very vibrant, and you taught me a lot. So thank you for that, Elizabeth.
Well, it's interesting because our stories are very parallel, because I too, I've been a student of colonic science, I realize now, for almost 10 years. And just as soon as I heard it, well, first of all, it was just really, I wanted to find out where Peter was, because he kept talking to me and kept wanting me to understand things that in places he took me that I couldn't put into any context. So, he kept leading me to certain people and works, of course, of Ashiana's works, but, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And still, I'm doing my best to learn all the freedom teachings because they're not readily available, but I just got someone that gave me all the downloads of them. So I go through them all, daily. And then I follow the recent stuff that she's doing, which is, I think, for those who have different contracts. I don't really divide or the different groups, but I have this very strong feeling right now. It's just urging me that we need to become the speakers. We need to speak out. We need to embody these teachings and express them in our own unique ways. And that's why we had Akwashi last time. For example, he puts all those into his new songs that he writes, and he calls it Akwashi because it's the Adashi cycle and from the Aquinas, matrix. And then, of course, Amma Soul is just the embodiment of love and compassion for all, especially her animals. And it's so symbolic. So I'd like to try to bring people, and you are an embodiment because, as I said before, you're almost an ambassador. So I don't know if you got my message, but I had a dream, and, I've been having, with all these downloads, so vivid prophetic dreams. I'll tell people I had a dream and they're like, I told Jesse Howe, for example, that I had a dream that he was going to start a New Earth community in the Caribbean. And he said, yes, we're working on that right now.
Wow. That's amazing.
I do that. And I had a dream that I was in like Nevada or something, and I was trying to get to the David Emery Center for Enlightenment.
Wow.
It was so weird. I mean, it was so real. It's like, where is it? Well, which, I was like trying to figure it out on the map or something, or GPS. But so, we all have very powerful roles right now. And I think, one, I do believe in preserving these teachings in their integrity to the best of our ability. And I really admire there are so many people that is their contract, to maintain the integrity of these teachings and to share them. And I love that, and I always pay respects to Ashiana, all the work she's done, but at the same time, I think we're moving to the time where we need to totally like become these teachings, and become the 12 virtues and become, the voice of the guardians, because we are guardians. We are the guardians, and we might have, that's our family. That's a higher aspect of ourselves. And we need to be the guardians here on earth, moving and breathing and fulfilling our contracts through our soul mission. So that's what I'm so proud of you, because you've had the courage to speak out, because, it's kind of hard. It's like a child that leaves, the family, and they start talking, and then the rest of the family members might be like, well, no, they didn't say that right. That's not the way mom told the story, or that's not the way mom made the turkey dinner, and I understand the preservation of it, but we also need to, get out and express it. And we make mistakes. We don't know everything. We're learning. So, and that's why I encourage anyone who has the courage to come on my talk show, because I've asked a lot of people, and I know they don't feel comfortable speaking, and it takes a lot of courage, but it's part of just opening up that flow, because we are now, I believe we are all the speakers, because I believe that the first contract was fulfilled in 2012. And thank God it was fulfilled, because we wouldn't be able to have fail-safe if they hadn't have done all the grid work and maintained, and if we hadn't worked with the sphere of Amenti, and if we hadn't maintained our earth in together enough to have fail-safe take, because it almost didn't take. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, yes, we came. Give me. We came within milliseconds of oblivion and being sucked into a phantom matrix, a subtime distortion cycle. So it was a very close run thing, Elizabeth. But
and so just kudos, and we all need to just be so grateful for all those souls who responded to the call, who did all this work of 12 years of work for us to be able to be in this beautiful position we're in. So.
I totally agree. Yes, we stand on the shoulders of so many people who have gone before us, but we're all of the same tribe. That's the interesting thing. You mentioned about us being guardians, and we're also protectors, and we're also healers. So that was our contract, was to help the reclamation of souls by being guardians, protectors, and healers, not just of the Earth, our planetary system here, but of our whole local universe, of course, because there's so many of us. And it's interesting and fascinating, you just talking there about us all being the speakers, because something is really fascinating about what has happened. As you know, way back in hundreds of thousands of years, there have been speakers who have endeavored to tell the truth about our cosmic science, our cosmic history, our purpose and our mission, our healing, all of these things. And these speakers were deliberately hunted, tracked down, got rid of, eliminated, and their words either trashed or distorted deliberately to be put into other religious texts, so that we would the whole of the human life field would be confused. This has been going on persistently. Every time that there have been some speakers, they have been hunted down and stopped. In fact, you and I have been involved with many speakers in the past, Elizabeth. And I was involved in 10,400 BC with the Yu speakers of the Yu dynasty in China, and some other dynasties, those in some in Africa. I wasn't a speaker at those times, but I was an associate helper. And we've come back here to be here now.
I remember you.
Yes, we've come back here to assist. And so your words here about saying we are all speakers, this is what's happening, Elizabeth. And it's wonderful, because all over the world, people are retelling the Keylontic sciences. They're telling the story of who we really are. And it can't be stopped, because you can't hunt down, a million speakers. Not anymore. Those times are over when you could hunt down one speaker or two or three. Now there are millions of us, and our words will be heard.
Yes. Oh, God, I love that. Thank you so much, David. And, I was saying last week, I really thought there was a point where I thought things were going to really go in one direction. And I just wanted to buy some land, get some people together, and kind of hold the frequencies and just let everything go to hell. Well, a good thing is, I think there's enough of us that are shifting that reality. And I believe right now we are beginning the new consciousness renaissance. And ironically, because I used to always talk about, don't surf the net, surf the infinite, get out of the net. But I think it's going to happen in the net, which is why I have just contracted on many different levels to be much more a presence in cyberspace, in sacred cyberspace, I call it, because that's how are they going to silence all our voices if we're all, making music, making films, giving talk shows, doing, little videos, and we're emanating that those frequencies, we're sharing those crystal codes. And that's exactly what we're doing. That's the plan, and they can't censor that because, that's just love.
Well, yeah, I think what you just said there was so accurate. We're running frequency, and the frequency that we're running, which is all conjoined together now, there's so many of us, it is immensely powerful. It can't be stopped. And it's a question now of our direction of travel. There are a lot of us now in the same direction. We're slightly doing different things, but nevertheless, our direction of travel is the same. And so consequently, we're pulling the whole of our planetary systems in this whole local universe with us. This is why we're going as a super frequency event. Ascension on a universal scale, because Elizabeth, you and I and many, many others using our frequency to pull the whole of the universe together as one.
Yes, we are. And you said something earlier that I really liked, because I believe this, and I just first get what I believe, and then I look out there and see if there's something that supports it, especially in the Christic teachings. And I, like I said, I really am, like you said, it's been squelched for so long. I'm so much about getting all of it out there to the best we can, and then seeing how it relates to you. But okay, two things. Let me do it. The first one, you talked about slingshot evacuation. And one of the things that just rubs me the wrong way, which I know, as you explained it, you're not saying that now, but a lot of people have been like, find the nearest Stargate, get your body out, get you evacuate Earth. And I understand, because there was a point when we needed to do that. But now, and I know for me, in my heart of hearts, I mean, there's a part of me that for 20 years, I just wanted to get the hell out of here. And I wanted to get back with Peter. It was like, I left my other half. I just, what am I doing here in this, and I was so upset and blah, 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 victimized, really in a bad mood for 20 years. But, I realized, hey, I'm here now. This is my job. My job is to make it in the here and now and help people, because we're actually bringing it all here now. And you talked, I think I've listened to one of your videos, which I believe we're bringing Gaia, Tara, Aurora Earth, Eartha, M3, whatever. It's all like assimilating in our, like, just like our Huva bodies, just like all the aspects of ourselves, our Christic selves, our Avatar selves, our Rishi selves, they're all in the here and now, and they're all becoming whole or holy together. So I don't feel like it's something we have to leave, like beam me up, Scotty, or, get to the nearest Stargate, or, have the Galactic Federations take us off the planet, or, all that kind of nonsense. Do you concur?
Listen, Elizabeth, I resonate with everything you say. I know your energy and your passion are so powerful, but there's no question about it. I have always been connected with everything that you said, because we've been associated before quite a few times in the deep past. And so I can endorse entirely everything that you have just said about this super frequency ascension. Is really involving all of us. So there's you, there's me, there's all the people that you interview, there's Ama Soul and so on, but there's also Earth. So if there's Earth involved with us, then there's Tara. And if there's Tara involved with us, there's Gaia. And if there's Gaia, there's Aramatena. And we're all together as one. And this is the astonishing beauty of the whole thing. You can step with your bare feet out onto Earth, and you can just feel that she is with you as you are with her through the morphogenetic connection. And it's all wonderful. And that means that all the trees are, all the plants, the bugs, the birds, the bees, everything, every element, the rock crystals, the molecules of air, the ether, we're all together as one. And when you get that feeling coming through your veins, oh my goodness, you realize that everything that we're talking about, Elizabeth, is unstoppable. We are unstoppable. You are unstoppable. And all of us listening here together today, we're unstoppable in this astonishing universal ascension.
Yes. And oh gosh, just listening to you, or even me, the frequencies are so high right now. Since this last solar flare, really ejection, I can sense it. And what really resonates with me when you said the slingshot evac is evacuating us from all the old timelines that are crumbling, all the artificial timelines, all these experiences that were not real, into the one trua pathway. And I want to bring that to, because you keep talking about memories, and I was listening to you whenever you talk about the U Dynasty, I love films. Okay, so there's a great film by Frank Capra, I don't know if you ever saw it, called Lost Horizon. And it's all about Shangri-La. They find Shangri-La really like up in the mountains of Tibet. And there was a man who's like comes in, and he was very kind of Asian, and he's like, not to worry, don't wait for me, I eat very little. He was always so in it but not of it. And that's how you were. I see you back in that time frame with yours.
Well,
but so the point I'm making is that, when we think of history, we were taught in the classroom, these are dead men, or, women, or mostly men usually. And these dates we have to memorize, and they have nothing to do with us except these monuments and statues. Well, first of all, that was all wrong history. But these are our stories. These are our lives that we are going to remember. And it's so important to remember them so we don't repeat the same mistakes and we learn from them, right?
Well, absolutely. Now, do you remember we were going to, this is getting now personal, but you remember we were going to go on a cruise together. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
To Greece and Egypt and so on.
We wanted to.
Yeah. And that fell through for lots of different reasons, but there are no accidents, so it was designed.
It wasn't the time. It wasn't the divine time yet.
But the thing that,
it's still there, though. I see it.
the thing that I was looking forward to was actually, and we can still do this, is that I know you have the capacity through putting your hand on a wall, a rock wall, or a rock itself, and you can pick up the stories. So you were talking about the stories. So the stories are locked inside the particle base of everything. They never go away. And so I wanted to see you put your hand on a rock in Greece and tell me the story of the rock, because you see what you were talking about, the narratives that we all hold within our frequency and within ourselves. Everything has a story, and that's because we're all together as one. Yes, a rock is, the crystals are, particularly crystals. And
limestones hold such frequency, and that's why they built the temples out of them.
There you go. And so there are so many stories that we still have to learn because they're all beneath our feet. It's astonishing. But can I take a slight detour here?
Sure. Well, let me just say one thing about that, though. You know how you just had no idea that you would be getting on a plane and you'd be in America now? I'm American, you're in America, and I'm in Italy, I'm in Europe, how crazy is that? But I know, I just saw it already that we will be doing that, and I do it all the time here in Sicily because I've got everything here. I've got Greece, Rome, I've got the early Iliani's temples here, so it's going to happen. It's just, I always like I just work here. It'll happen when the moment's right. But that's why I got so excited about it, because I saw it already happening. So go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, there's not many people know this, but in fact, you're the first person I'm going to tell. I've written another book which is complete, and I haven't. A couple of people have listened to it on audio. It's a short book, and it's about my visits to the 8th dimension. And the reason I'm going to mention it now, because I hadn't considered doing so, is that I had a series of 6 visits to the 8th dimension, and I just described what happens there, and it's a magical place. The 8th dimension, of course, as you know, is the galactic center, and into which we all come as spiritual entities first, and then we disperse into the different realms.
I didn't know that.
So the 8th dimension is sort of like our entry point.
Well, but where is Eartha? What dimension is that in?
Well, we're going to Eartha 3, which is in the Akasha A levels of that's in a different Akasha, but Eartha 3 is a different aspect of Earth and Tara, etc. But the 8th dimension, of course, is Mintaka Orion. And,
Mintaka Orion. Okay, yes. So okay, that's where we come through. Okay, that makes sense.
So I just wrote 6 stories.
Because I remember Peter staring up at it once and saying, "I came from there."
Oh, really? Okay, well, that is very interesting. So it's a beautiful place, and I explained some of the things that happened to me there, and it's wonderful.
Because I was like, no, because Orion also has some negative stuff going on there too. So I was like, not that, but now you make sense that it is beautiful. Mintaka is.
Mintaka is, yeah. Orion has got some pretty diabolical beings there, but Mintaka is okay. The only slightly rogue element they have are aquatic apes, but they are very, very far away. So most of Mintaka is beautiful. But here's what I'm going to tell you, because I met some amazing people. I met my avatar self there, and I met some teachers who were praying mantises, Atheians.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They're permanently teachers in the universal realms, and they took me to the Amareya flame, and the Amareya flame, of course, is how our eternal source flows enter in through the Manu window and enter into all the lower domains. So they took me there, and then they told me, and this is the first time I've told anyone, that I was to write a 7th chapter. And this 7th chapter was about how the whole of our universe is joining hands together spiritually to be as one and to move into a new realm of the internal, eternal worlds. So the 7th chapter of this book, which nobody's ever read, is to do with our super frequency universal ascension, Elizabeth, all together as one. And I've been told to write that chapter about how the whole universe goes together. So
now, when you say the whole universe, are you talking about our time matrix? Are you talking about the whole Akasha? Are you talking beyond our Akasha?
I'm talking about Earth, Tara, Gaia, and Aramatena all together.
Okay. Oh, that sounds fascinating. I can't wait to read it or hear it or however you. Are you writing it? Is it going to be a book or is it an audiobook? What?
I think that'll probably be an audio book. I've done the 6 chapters. I've just got to do the 7th, but I'm going to finish the Beyond the Biblical first because I'm a man. I'm a bit one-dimensional. I can only do one thing at a time.
Well, I think that's the book that's kind of going to get you.
Yeah.
You kind of like for me, the foundation was the Infinite Human, but I've got 8 books up there now. So
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take just a short break, and we'll be right back with David Emery, and we're talking about not only his upcoming book, Slingshot, I'm sorry, Beyond Biblical, and he's got another book that he's hidden up his sleeve, so that'll be coming out too soon. Okay. And we're back with David Emery, and gosh, he's got so many books now. I don't even know which one to talk about. But what I would like to do, I think the most important thing is I just want to kind of lay this foundation because I feel like part of my job is to like beam steer us, to the heroic path, and it always, you'll always hear me saying, whether we're talking about the Galactic Federation, which we talk good aliens coming in, or the elections, or what's going on outside of you. And Akashi said, actually, what's going on outside of you is what draws your attention is something you want to know. So it's really going on inside of you because you projected into your holographic reality. So, but as long as you always remember, it's always about you, how you respond to it, what you're supposed to learn from it. And, you are infinite source. And if you can identify, I got all these bugs coming out here. If you can identify always with the infinite part of you, the powerful part of you, and you don't get lost in the story, lost in the plot, then, that's something to remember, but don't put your power away. So when we're talking about these books, especially, the Beyond Biblical, these are us. So I think for me, as I learn and recall my other lifetimes, because there's no time, we call them past lives, but they're alternate identities. I begin to realize, and that's the psychotherapist in me from my family. My parents were both psychotherapists, but I begin to recognize patterns, and I'm always out there. I'm always, the martyr, getting burnt and getting stoned and, speaking out for my rights. And, that's a part I played, but, maybe it's not the best part for me to always play. Maybe we need to start healing because that's a lot of wounds, especially the females have had a lot of trauma, so it helps to know this history and to know what role you played in it and to recognize these patterns and to put them. Sometimes we just have to put it down. We have to put the put down. I mean, I know I've done a lot of calling to speak out, but you need to know when. There's a time to speak out and there's a time to just, okay. I'm of it.
Yeah, I think Oscar Wilde said the purpose of history is to rewrite it.
Yes.
And one of the ways of rewriting it, of course, is to rewrite it with the truth of what's really gone down. And so when you're talking about your previous existences, which are still concurrently happening now, of course, it was very powerful. It was poignant and powerful, and I respect totally the things that you have experienced and that you have created in the whole of your spiritual personality, Elizabeth. It's been amazing. But the thing about all of these lifetimes that we can either remember or we can't remember, and slowly we are remembering them, is that they make you realize that there was a purpose to all that you are, that you have a mission. Because quite often it's very easy in our reincarnated bodies. We just keep coming back here time after time after time. And it seems as though it's all accidental, that we are simply an accident of nature. We're lucky to be here and there's no purpose. What is the purpose? But you see, when you start connecting with all your previous lifetimes, and you start reading about the true history of humanity, what's really happened here, you realize that, of course, we do have a purpose. We have a mission. And when this connects with you in a personal level, it makes you realize, and I use this word advisedly, it makes you realize how important you are, how important you are to everything, to the whole of the life field. And it's very easy in this world to think of yourself as not worthy, not very much. I made $1 million and I had a big palace and I became the world's greatest tiddlywinks player. But all of those things mean nothing really. It's a question of how you can join with the whole of the rest of your life field. And when you realize that you are a vital, unique, inestimably important part of all of that, you realize that you have a purpose. And that's what all of these lifetimes have been. And that's what the whole of the history of the angelic human is. It has a purpose. It has a mission. You are important. You're not just important, you're vital, you're unique. You bring something special. You bring something celestial, something divine into the grids of the whole of the universal planetary systems. You are required, and you are required here and now to be your true self. And that's why the whole of our story, Elizabeth, is always about one thing. It's about identity. It's about who you are. And when we finally step into the realization that we are actually God's source, then we realize that we have manifested ourselves into a realm where we can express that God source celestial divinity. And that is what we are truly about. And that's what brings us together. That's what makes us hold our hands together. We embrace together in that joyous, loving unity. And that is really why I'm writing the book.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, as you say your wise words, I'm reminded, actually, I was flashing through all my lifetimes and I was flashing back to when this whole, I guess you would almost call it the virus, the infection, the distortion occurred back in I guess and you probably can give me the dates, but we're talking like 960 billion years ago in the Borgia time matrix, but it was all the victimizer experiment, and it happened basically because of grief. And a lot of times you think, well, that was a long time ago, far away, but we're all infinite, learning about itself. And I have meditated and contemplated that a lot. I meditate things in the quiet of the mountains up here, and I could really identify with it, because part of the hero's journey, part of what Joseph Campbell came up with, was that through the journey, you at the end you get through all your challenges, all the darkness, all the difficulties and the dark nights of the souls, you arrive with an elixir of life, with the reward, and you glean this truth, and it's not just intellectual, you glean it by living it. And we return back to source, infinite source, with this knowledge that we grow more from it. And for me, I was going through that in my mind, and first of all, grief. I had so many signs about being like Orpheus. I don't know if you know the myth of Orpheus, when he lost his twin soul. And just when I was in Florence, I was like in the deepest, darkest, and I would do this hero's journey with my students to create their films, and my students kept coming up with Orpheus, and I would stumble into this art exhibition of Orpheus, because basically I was the same way. I was like, without my twin soul, screw the world. I'm not going any further. That's it. Count me out, And so that was a big one because that's what happened. That's really what caused the original distortion that infected our time matrix, because they lost that we could see almost like their children, the lower, correct me if I'm wrong, the lower density, the lower dimensions of their time matrix, and they couldn't understand why they went to space dust. So they began this experiment because they realized they traced it to this victimizer mentality, this polarity that existed. So they thought in their wisdom that they could figure it out so it wouldn't happen again, and created this experiment where half of them, there was a control group, part of them were victimizers, the others were victims. And it turned out that the first group that played the victimizers, and when they were victims and it was their time to do it again, they said no more victim, and they became the victimizers. And then that's what began the whole, and the Borg were like on Star Trek, these are like, they got so deviated from the Christ and from infinite source. So to make a long story short, I think, I've gone through a lot of my lifetimes being a victim and also a martyr, because really they're the same things. And it's this martyrdom. I just didn't care. I wanted to do what was right, and it was really kind of a martyrdom. And when I sorry. And I had a disability. I'll just say this. It was very powerful. I had a disability case that had been going on for 10 years. And every time I got before the judge, I was like, and Peter, didn't get his disability, and me, I've been attacked, and and I would like get up on my, and it would get revoked, and then I'd appeal it. And I was on my last appeal, 10 years. And the lawyer, a very savvy guy, kind of, lawyerish, but he said, do you want to be right or do you want to win? And I was like, I want to be right. And then I went, wait a minute, what am I doing? I've been right for 10 years. And so I said, okay. And I humbled myself, and I followed his lead, and I played the part, and I won. And one day I went from $1 in my account, €1 in my account, to 100,000. Because I shifted this karmic pattern of always, and my brothers know me. I mean, it's like, there goes Elizabeth again. She's going to get up there and get all. And so I'm just saying this because I think it's something that a lot of Christic people have. We've been, our poo doesn't smell. We're so, holier than thou. And part of the rewriting now is that we need to win. We need to stop being victims. We need to become physically evolved, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially abundant, and socially. And we need to be the victors and the winners and pave the way, for a beautiful new reality where everyone wins.
Well, I would agree totally with you that in that way, winning isn't everything; it's the result of everything, and everything is to do with how you view yourself. So you're quite right. I mean, I've been through feelings of victimization and unworthiness and martyrdom, and you name it, we've been it. Yeah. and ultimately, really, what we need to be is we need to be creators of ourselves. So we in creating ourselves the way we truly want us to be, that is how that we can win in the terms of.
And when I say win, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when I say win, I mean win-win. Everybody wins.
Yes.
There's no victims. There's no losers. Everybody wins.
Yes, because that sort of winning is the demonstration, the manifestation of how the world and the universe are supposed to operate in a celestial divine harmony. And that's really what we're talking about. So we have to harmonize within ourselves. And in doing so, we harmonize with the rest of the life field. And so what you've been saying here is pivotal. And your example in the courts of Italy, I guess, is very, very.
That was in the U.S. That was the American courts.
In the U.S. Okay, right. Well, I appreciate that because it was very apropos. It is really all about us and how we view ourselves ultimately in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what we're all doing right now. We're all rewriting our story, I think. So we're winning, and we're realizing we're remembering how powerful we are, how angelic, how divine we are. And I think most of us are experiencing, like, some people are like, been there, done it, bought the t-shirt and burnt it. They're just so sick of conflict. I'm just conflict. I'm so sick of trauma. I'm so sick of being vampirized. I'm so sick of giving to people that don't give back. We're just wanting, to return to something, and we might not be sure what it is because it's not really mirrored out there in reality, but we remember what it is. We know it feels good. We know something like this, somewhere over the rainbow, it does exist, and we want it. We're hungry for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's
Yes,
the first.
I agree with you. And if I'm allowed to just detour again, I'll tell you another story.
Sure.
This is another true story.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to explain it is because it indicates what you've been talking about. It indicates how we are really together as one. And that is what we're really all about. Our identity is about that. 2001, Wimbledon. And there was a gentleman playing in the singles who had to be given a wild card because he wasn't playing well enough to get a direct entry into Wimbledon. But because he was a well-known person and a nice guy, people said, okay, we'll let you have a free pass into Wimbledon and you can play here, but you'll probably lose in the first round. And then you can go home and you can say your last match was at Wimbledon. His name was Goran Ivanisevic. He had been a great player, but he'd never won anything major. And he'd always wanted to win Wimbledon and he'd never managed to do so. So in 2001, with not much practice and no hope, he turned up and he played and he won his first round. I'll cut the story short because against all the odds, he defeated 6 players to get to the final. And now his presence at Wimbledon had become a worldwide sporting story. The man against all odds, reputedly about to retire, who had never won Wimbledon, here he was in the final. And could he finally do it? Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that we all try to win in a face-to-face confrontation. And here he was playing his last match at Wimbledon and the world was watching. Could he do it? And the upshot is that eventually, after many alarms and many difficulties and many challenges, he got to match point. And he was there serving to win Wimbledon. And this is the point I'm trying to make. 15,000 people in that whole auditorium wanted him to win. And it included the person that he was playing. Pat Rafter, the Australian, had wanted to win Wimbledon himself. But the immense love and connection that the whole of the auditorium, the whole of the audience, 15,000 people, and all the people watching on television, as Goran Ivanisevic lined up to serve for the final point to win the championship, even Pat Rafter wanted Goran to win. And when he won the championship, he won that point, and he sank to the floor and burst into tears. Everybody stood up and cheered, and there was not a single person in that auditorium, 15,000 people and watching worldwide on TV, who were not in love with Goran Ivanisevic because of what he achieved. Against all the odds, he came through to win. And really, that is an analogy of all of us. We all want us together to win, together as one. And that's what happened in that moment, where everybody was in tears and watching the success of one angelic human against all the odds to come through. And all the people who are listening now, and to you, Elizabeth, I say, this is where we are. We are all together as one. We are pulling for each other because we know the odds that we have all faced individually and collectively. And today, here, now, this is what we are doing. We are sharing each other, holding hands, because against all the odds, together, we're going to win.
Yes, beautiful, very, very inspirational story. And I just want to add to that and kind of wind it up, because that's really what the Crystal River Failsafe host is about, I believe. I think, and for me, I check myself sometimes. Many of us, we don't even remember why we have phobias or fears, or why we feel like, we're not worthy, or we've been victimized, or, we're not going to find true love. We're not going to be able to make that money. We're not going to be successful. And it's because of our past, our hidden past. We have been, traumatized, MK Ultra mind control, traumatized to have those beliefs, those fears, those phobias, those, thoughts that cause us to fail, that self-sabotage. And I'm say unto you, no more. That has all shifted now, because of the Crystal River failsafe host. We have had the cards stacked against us in the past with the whole Fibonacci, the death spiral, the death cult. They have been siphoning off our energy. They have had control. They have been running the show, literally. But that has all shifted, okay? And that shifted. We had E.M. Parks that talked about the time I spent on the November 8th show when it happened. And, the crystallis spiral is picking up steam, quantum, every day more and more, and it has your back. And anytime you make a move, anytime you make a decision, anytime you make a choice as your heroic self that is in alignment with that quantum crystallic energy consciousness, it is just carrying you. And even if it's a little seed that you're doing now, whether it's writing a book, or like I started a Patreon channel, or buying this, or moving there, it's a huge seed, because this year, I believe, is the year of laying the foundation. It's an 8th year of foundation, and it's just going to pick up everything you plant, everything you sow now is going to pick up this amazing quantum of infinite. No longer are we confined to the finite. Infinite source has your back.
Brilliant. I love that. You said some absolutely sensational phrases in there, and we need to replay that and print them, because they were great. and that's exactly what we're doing. And Elizabeth, it's always an inspiration to be with you, to share time with you, and to talk with you, and to hear what you say, and to understand where you've come from to be where you are now. It's an inspiration.
Ditto. I'll be very American. I was telling the Italians that Americans make acronyms of everything, and I don't understand them anymore when they talk, because in Italian we have very long words and we speak them out, but I'll just say ditto. So, David, let us, our listening audience and viewing, if you're seeing the video, tell us about how we can, reach out, how we can contact you, how we can support you in your vital work.
Well, it's on. I'm on Substack now, so I write quite a few articles on there on Substack, and I think you can contact me via David Emery on there. And if you have time to read what I write, I'd be very grateful, because I'm just sharing many of the things, like, for example, that Elizabeth has shared with me. So we're all sharing together. I'm on Facebook as well, and you can always contact me there. If you write to me there, I will get back to you and write back. And of course, whenever the book comes out, perhaps you might like to scan some of the pages.
Yes, that will be out, and you said this year,
This year. Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And we'll just make an announcement that it should be out everywhere. Like, it should be available in bookstores and Amazon and all different places. You should get a website so it can be downloaded there or whatever, and get your audio book. I want that. That sounds exciting. What's the name of that next book that's going to?
Well, at the moment, it's journeys into the 8th dimension. That's what it's called at the moment. But that title may change, but that will come out, because that is actually already complete, apart from that 7th part.
I just love those kind of that kind of work, because it just sends your mind reeling, and actually causes me to remember those higher aspects of myself that are so important. I love that. So so thank you very much again. Thank you so much to everyone who's listened. We've reached a year now. We started a year ago on Columbus Day, and we started to question the true history of our planet, and see Columbus as not the hero he's been painted out to be, but more of he's a bastard, a rapist, a murderer, all kinds of terrible things. And we've reached 37,000 people, and I'm so grateful to you. And I really appreciate your support. Again, if you want to support me, the website's www.infinitehuman.com. You can buy books. I think I even have a coffee mug on there. I'm starting a Patreon channel, so I'm going to be able to help you, coach you for a lot less than doing private coachings, because I know a lot of you are going through some challenging times, and it's hard to find time to coach everyone, and it would be a lot easier to do it in a group where we can come together on conference calls and discuss things that are coming up, because I'm really focused on bringing these Christic principles into your daily life to help you evolve physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and socially. And that was really the theme in The Pathway Home that it was predominantly Peter that wrote as a physician, and it's a guide to inner divine healing. And I know a lot of people are having those challenges today. So, we're with you. We're both here. We're both with you through this journey. It's an exciting time to be alive. Exciting heroic journey we're all on, and a new consciousness renaissance. And I certainly see you as a blossoming major player in this new consciousness renaissance.
Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. But I take inspiration from you and from many others, but particularly from you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you for coming, and much love to you. And okay, we'll see you next time when we see you.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.